What I love most about indie games is they're often a mixed bag of things. You don't ever really know what to expect until you hit play. And every once in a while, you come across a gem, something that feels truly unique. And to me, Choo-Choo Charles is just that. Unique, but also a top-tier indie game. And I'll explain why in this review. Because of the freedom that indie games entail, it's left up to the author's creativity. So you can never truly know what to expect, and you can encounter just about anything, even if that means a giant, demonic, train spider beast on an island. As ridiculous as that premise seems, I think there's a lot more depth to Choo-Choo Charles than you might first believe, as did I. Until I started playing the game, I realized just how much more there was to this meme-turn-passion project, and I think there's a lot of passion in this project. But as you can imagine, with something being made entirely by a solo developer, with indie games there's often corners that need to be cut. And to me, what really separates one indie game from the next is how creatively they cut those corners, and how much it does or doesn't impact the gameplay. And I think with Choo-Choo Charles, it's done in a masterful way that makes sense to the player, and doesn't really hinder the gameplay at all. If anything, it supports the design and decision-making that went into it. Gavin Eisenbeis is the solo developer of Choo-Choo Charles, and I think he did a fantastic job with this game. I have played it in its entirety, and I still want more. If you would like to see that playthrough, the link is in my description. There is so much to this game that I adore and didn't know I would fall in love with. So much so that I reached out to the developer to see if he would come on for a live Q&A. I've done this before with others like Raph of War of the Worlds, and it's a focus of my channel to highlight indie games and how awesome they can truly be in a market that's saturated with terrible practices from AAA companies. Gavin said he would be willing to do a Q&A once the holidays pass, so if you would like to see that, be sure to stick around. I have some interesting questions, but for now, let's continue with this review. What I find beautiful about Choo-Choo Charles is how simple it is. It's extremely approachable, and it treats the player with a lot of respect. It's approachable in the sense that learning the train, the railways, the upgrade system, it's all simple, and it respects the player in that it assumes you're smart and you know how to figure these things out, and it just doesn't waste any time throwing you into the game. And I can't say how much I love this. I wish more games were like this. I think Gavin masterfully handled this tutorial that's so wrapped up in the middle of the story that it doesn't really feel like a tutorial at all. And when it ends, you're just left hitting the ground running. With it being so simple, this allows for every other aspect of the game to be polished. Transitions, UI, cutscenes, voice acting, sound design, graphics, and overall ambiance. There are so many things Gavin knocked out of the park with this approach to his game. Even the storytelling has depth to it. If you want to spend the time finding, reading, and piecing together notes to be found all over the map, you can. With the game generally set on rails, I'll see myself out. The player knows exactly what to do and what they can do, which Gavin also gives them complete control over. And in my opinion, this is the perfect recipe for a brilliant experience. Your train is on a railway, but you can take off on foot anywhere you like. At your own risk, of course. There are entirely optional missions if you want to get through the story faster, though those missions will make the game easier if you do them. And there are plenty of surprises and fun experiences to be had on these side missions. You can go to any mission you want in any order as well. You choose what kind of battle train you want to forge as you ration your scraps. Having the illusion of choice is something I think that helps a lot of indie games out there feel bigger than they are. But I think what makes Choo-Choo Charles stand out even more so is that it's not really just an illusion. You do have all these choices, even down to what color you want your train to be. It draws a deeper connection between you and your train. This game truly balances the line between linear and open gameplay, and provides many ways for you as the player to feel connected to what you're doing, and that the choices you have truly matter in how this game plays out in the end. On top of all of this, the game is entirely self-aware, and I think it would be a real miss to not notice this detail. It's amazing how much of the lore you can just kind of accept and starts to make sense as you continue to play. Because at the heart of it, we know what we're playing, and the game does too. We're just having fun, and it just makes us more vulnerable and opens up the door to suspend more disbelief and just to buy into the story even more. So I'm not really left questioning how this is possible. I'm more just intrigued to figure out why and what's going to happen at the end. With the game being so self-aware, it also opens the door for snarky and humorous moments in the storyline, typically experienced through dialogue from the array of memorable characters. The cast themselves range widely from lovable to downright condescending to the player, all with a light sense of humor sprinkled throughout their lines. This game is truly enjoyable, from the quirky characters to the mysterious plot to the challenging and, at times, downright terrifying antagonists. One moment, the game will have you laughing, and in the blink of an eye, it could have you screaming and panicking, which I often found happening to myself. Get out! There's a continual sense of discovery in this game as well. I was genuinely excited to see what each area was like, what hidden secrets or exotic characters might be waiting for me there, and would I be able to scratch that extremely addicting itch of finding more scraps to level up my train faster, all while continually feeling slightly on edge because you never know when Charles might turn up, or you happen to stumble into a cultist campsite. It's a beautiful game loop that plays so well. When you make it to a settlement, you uncover more mysteries, you find more tasks, and you find more scraps, and you use those scraps to better take on Charles as you continue on to the next settlement to repeat the process. But it never once felt boring or dry to me. Or as some salty corporate IGN employee, Travis Northup, says, dull. Yeah, I'm gonna do a whole review about this review. Travis, look at this Squilliam fancy son. He's like, no, Choo-Choo Charles sucks. And every review is positive. Look at that, 100%. I think this is enough proof for anyone still doubting that IGN is a little out of touch, maybe tone deaf, kind of lame. It's kind of lame, IGN. But yeah, if you want to see my reaction to this review, check a link. I'll post that video when I'm done. But back to having fun, not like this guy. The world also feels fully fleshed out with characters and their backstories, along with the lore and its island. We're greeted with an awesome cutscene and great voice acting all over the place. I don't know about you, but when I first played this game, I wasn't expecting this much for a game about a giant train spider monster. And also at times, I have to say, it just feels like a peaceful experience. As you might have guessed, I'm a huge fan of the atmosphere in this game. I myself was surprised, but it was very easy on the eyes and ears in many regards. Everything Gavin did in crafting his game made it easy as a player to get lost in. I found myself, surprisingly, thinking about this place and the characters and their stories even after logging off. I wanted to hop back in my train and take it for another spin around the island to see if perhaps there was another secret I could uncover somewhere. Because, truth be told, I often did. On top of having engaging cutscenes, storytelling, pacing, and the gameplay loop, all adding up to a truly climactic boss battle, it had the graphical fidelity and sound design to match. Rain assaults the shimmering wet docks, lanterns and flames glimmer in the distance. If the enormous black, ominous storm clouds over the island were a face, the moon would be its ever-watchful eye, casting an unflinching gaze bouncing off everything. Each side quest also felt very rewarding, whether it would give you a laugh or a heaping amount of scraps, or something completely unexpected that went far above what I was anticipating or ready for in this game. What is this minigame? Is it this bright one? It is! Grab it! And if you haven't done all the side quests, then I strongly suggest you give them a try, because I think you're really missing out on some awesome extra content that Gavin decided to throw in, which is just really amazing. But as I've touched on earlier, that's really just the beauty of this game. You can choose to go anywhere, do anything, and you can still complete the game all the same, but it can feel totally different depending on how you upgraded your train, what people you decided to talk to first, and how you piece the story together based off of that. I think what helps make this game feel really like a tightly wrapped present is Gavin started off with a joke, a meme of sorts, and it seems like he simply just built upon this idea. So instead of starting really big, the game started small, and as he added pieces organically fit. It is so well managed, and you can see it in many different ways, and one of those ways is the art style. I think something Choo-Choo Charles actually does very well is establish its own feeling. There is quite literally nothing that felt out of place to me in this entire playthrough. Everything felt seamlessly connected, and things like that go a very long way for building an immersive environment. I mean, even the animation to pull up your map, it made my stomach jump the first time I chose to look at my map. And seeing a 3D view of your map isn't something you often see in games, so it was a very pleasant surprise to see here. There's just a lot of decisions Gavin made to really make this feel like a unique experience. There always felt like there was a neat little surprise around each corner. As I mentioned earlier, the sound is also something that really took off with this game. The atmosphere is so locked down. The cries you hear from Charles off in the distance, they're so ominous and foreboding, and the music that is so seamlessly intertwined with the actions and the triggers of him seeing you and chasing you. And it's really just an awesome immersive experience. Audio is something that I think too often goes overlooked in games, but is truly the one weapon that has the most power to completely push a game to its next level. I mean, he had sounds in the trees and things that made me second guess if there was more than just Charles that I would be dealing with. And as you discover in side quests like Elizabeth, Murkwater, or Sasha, there are other things that you deal with in this game. But all in all, I think I was truly surprised by the gamut of emotions and feelings this game made me feel. I felt connected to characters, I felt insulted by characters, I felt fear, I felt peace, I felt excitement, I felt discovery, and there's also these amazing musical tracks that pop up every once in a while. You're just coasting along in your train, and suddenly this beautiful work of art just comes and fills the atmosphere. Because as big and epic as the chase sequences are, there's these other tracks that are just atmospheric and beautiful, and something I would just listen to while studying. So it all really works together to create this really unified experience that takes you from point A and keeps escalating all the way to point Z, where you end with honestly one of the biggest and most exciting climactic endings to an indie game that I have felt and experienced in a while. And then it just leaves you there with the ending. It's really masterfully done in my opinion. The tension keeps building, the mysterious story keeps unraveling, and then before you know it, you're at the end, you're at the boss fight, and it's wild. It's more than I expected, truly. I was panicking, I was losing my mind, and I was truly left in awe after we finally defeated him with just such an epic, over-the-top ending, which again is just the game knowing what it is. The game is over the top, the game is ridiculous, but with the amount of passion that Gavin put into this project, it takes you to those deeper levels of connection and mystery and feelings while being hilarious and being over the top. I really can't give this game enough praise. As you can tell, I'm probably sounding like a broken record at this point. And then to seamlessly lead into the end cutscene where you see the real threat below the surface that you thought you'd already dealt with above the surface. Really, really well done. So hats off to you, Gavin, because this was quite the experience of an indie game. I cannot wait to have you on, and if you, the viewer, have some questions you would like Gavin to answer as well, be sure to leave them in my comments, and I'll look through them and try to get as many answered as I can. Now, he said he's been busy with a lot of post-launch things, but there are some things, if he does continue to update the game, that I thought might be interesting. From my experiences, these are some things I saw that could be tweaked or could be added that might enhance the experience of this game. So in some of the missions, I was able to squeeze through, grab the egg, and bounce without any of the cultists noticing me. As they make their rounds, it would be really neat to see their AI be able to detect, hey, the egg's missing, and just automatically run to the exit where they might find the player. So that way, even if they didn't see you, there's still that threat of them being smart enough to know, someone took the egg I'm guarding. I should hunt you down. I would love to just see a compass inside the train, on the dash, or maybe up top somewhere. There's often times when you're dealing with Charles and you just get completely turned around, and obviously you can just look at your map and there you go, you'll see where you are. But I think it would also just be a cool little detail to have inside the train. That way you don't always have to really bounce in and out of your map as you're traveling. Sometimes I thought I was toggled to sprint while running from a cultist, and it wasn't, so I would end up getting shot. Something I think to help would be to show a sprint icon. It would be a great visual indicator for the player just to say your sprint is or isn't toggled at the moment. Something I will say that I like is that he does not indicate how loud your player is. So peeking around corners, and I love that there's a lean mechanic, by the way. Peeking around corners felt really tense. Like, I had to learn the game of how close can I get to these guys? How much noise can I make? Do they function just off sight or off sound as well? Which I eventually found, yes, they function off both. They function off both, Void. You will get shot and die. Although I did find this really funny thing in the temple where you can actually hide behind this little wall he made for you, and you can phase through it, and you can totally confuse a cultist. They will know you're in the room, but they won't know how to path behind the wall and find you. So they'll just keep running back and forth and basically be standing right in front of you as they're trying to hunt you down.
Oh, whoa! Hey, I'm not out, buddy. We just want to talk.
A thought I had for Charles would be to have Charles be able to use a web in some way. I mean, he is a giant spider, right? Maybe here and there he just kind of lays webs down that would cross between trees. If your train goes through it, it will slow you down. He could just be applying them randomly throughout the map, which would just add another crazy moment to the chaos. One thing I love is that as you upgrade your train, it gets more and more badass looking. The only thing that upgrading your train doesn't really visually change are the weapons. It would be neat to see each gun get a little more badass as well as you upgrade them. Perhaps the machine gun gets a little bigger. Perhaps the flamethrower has more, what are they called? What are these things called? Flamethrowers, I don't know, nozzles? Perhaps the bombs you shoot get a little bigger. Things like that would be neat to visually indicate that your weapons are doing more damage as well. I loved the design, the UI, and everything in this game. The random squiggling patterns on all the textures in the game. Just another reason why this game feels like a nicely squared peanut butter and jelly sandwich with the crust cut off. If you haven't seen my playthrough of the game, you can check that out right here. I had a lot of fun with this game. It seriously was amazing. I panicked like crazy, but I also had a really good time. Do check that out if you want to enjoy that ride with me. And also, when the Q&A does happen, I will put that right here as well. Until next time, cadets, may your future journeys be evermore. Voidboi out.